Aloha, Rich Halverson here. This is ITS 227, and today I'm going to go through the advanced CSS chapter and do the challenge activities. So let me share my screen. All right, so I'm going to do the ones in here. All right, advanced CSS. Now here, advanced CSS. This chapter has to do with how you arrange stuff on the web page. And of course, we know about tables and so on, and we know a little bit about divs and so on, divisions, dividers, and so on. There's some much more fancy tools that CSS offers us, and that to lay things out and to be able to change the way it looks when the the user's browser is different and so on, making it responsive and all that. Responsive just means, you've heard this term, responsive means that it is designed so it'll look nice on any browser, from phones, from small screen phones all the way up to huge screens and iPads and everything between. All right, so it's the first one we're going to talk about is Flexbox. And what we're talking about, when we talk about these different kinds, it has to do with a display type. So if we go to let's go to the first one. We haven't even gotten the flex. Okay, well, let's see what this does. Okay, so this here we get into div and how with div you can float things. And so in this exercise, we put in all these exercises, you add these in. First of all, you remove the width of the CSS body selector. It's really easy. And these are really good to go through because it's really hard to visualize these in your head. At least it is for me. I'm a coder. I'm not used to, this is more layout, and this comes very natural for a lot of people. Coding less so, but anyway, so the first thing I ask you to do is to remove this width. Well, this little trick, if you want to remove it, but remember that it was there at one time, you just make the keyword be something that's not anything. So I just threw an X in there. And then when we re-render this, you see the width is not, if I take it back out again and render it, see, that's the way it was. But so this is one way of taking things out. And the reason I just tell you this now is because all through this, it just may be easier, and it's something that you can do. And in the real world with code, you may want to try things, and actually on live sites that aren't busy, and you hit a refresh and you remove things, and it's easy to put that right back in again. All right, so there's, and then you should try out these other ones. It's like this one is where it's making the two sections. So I'm going to copy this and throw this over in the CSS, any place in the CSS. And then when you, oops, I'm not doing this right. This is in the HTML. This is putting divs around a side and section. So you do this div, and then not div. And again, it doesn't have to look nice. You just have to throw them in there. And so now what happens? Did I do something? Oh, I got to aside. It is side section. Okay, so that might not have done anything yet, but if we then say, here's where we put in the CSS, copy this, and we could throw this in anywhere. Now this gives some instructions to what to do when you come across a div, and now it's float, and so it makes the two sections side by side. So you can just do let's see, X render page, and then take the X out and render it again and see that. Okay, so that's this whole section. You go through all these things. Okay, so there's this okay, so we're gonna do we're gonna define ID types or IDs, and then we're gonna use the ID, that ID handle, to be able to define the CSS to apply to elements or whatever that are of that ID. And so here was container. This is and so by adding these different okay, so what this is this has to do with the container itself, and so we're going to make it. It's a display type is flex. That's the flex box. So here we're in this first section. We talk about the flex box, and that's display equals flex. And then for this one, it's going to be display equals grid, and then there's more on positioning elements, by direct address and so on. So and this has to do with this div, and because we have the container and then a greater than sign and then another div, this is a div child. This is a div child of a container. So then this div applies to the children inside here. Okay, so and then click through that, make sure you understand that. This work. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to get a Gatorade. All right, so fill out this, make sure you get all the points. Okay, now when you're doing a display equals flex, then there's these properties, then there's these new properties inside of flex container box. And there's the flex direction property, which can be row reverse, column, or column reverse. There's the gap property, which does this. There's you say a pixel amount and it puts a gap there. And there's justify, and of course there's different kinds of justification of text. There's flex wrap, where what happens when the screen gets smaller. How do you wrap? Two different kinds of wrapping. This is a property, so it's on the left side of the colon, and this is the attribute. This is the value, so that's on the right side of the colon. So when you use them, first you say that, and what this little exercise does is add a gap property to the flex container. So here we're inside this flex container. So then I think I can just do this. It's what's nice in this is you can actually see the solution. And yes, you do this gap 20 pixels. And so once you put that in there and you render the page, you can see it added a gap. Okay, so go through all these and then you really understand it. And other stuff you can do. So these are all okay. So then there's other properties. There's flex basis, and there's and then there's flex grow, and then there's flex shrink, and this has to do with the original size of the item once it's displayed out, and it's the auto just means the original size of the image. But if you put percentages or so on, then it sizes it, and that's the original size. But then when the container or whatever gets bigger, you say whether or not you want that thing to grow, and also when it gets small, you say whether you want it to shrink. So that's what those properties are. You can do that here. Make sure you click through those, and let's just get straight to this is a pretty interesting thing to go through. All you do is you follow the instructions up here. So add single div elements that surrounds all three sections. Okay, so right now it looks like this, all in line. If we see the CSS of a div is, oh, it doesn't see. Anyway, so if we stick a div around all three sections, sections. Okay, so I can make this bigger. Okay. No. Div, and then anti-div. And then when I render the page, oh, I got to put the CSS in. What? Add proper CSS so the div becomes a flex container. That's so. Display equals flex. Yeah. So display equals flex. That's this. That's this one here. Oh. Anyway. Oh yeah. So it's flex. Oh here. Well, it's this. We have to have this in here. Copy. Don't we have to say div? Yeah, we got to say that too. Okay, so I guess I'm doing this out of order, but okay, so I'm going to put this in there. We got to put this in there somewhere. It doesn't matter where. And that says what a container is, container ID, and we're saying display is flex, and the flex wrap is wrap. So, and then we want to make this a container. Give this an ID container. Is that right? ID container. Okay, then when we render the page, all right, see now it looks like that. Oh, the flex equals wrap is in. Okay, so if we didn't have the flex equals wrap, what happens if we don't have the flex equals wrap? Flip wrap it, wrap X, which is nothing. Okay, so then it doesn't wrap, but we want to wrap it. All right. Anyway, so sorry, that was a tangent. Let's get right to these challenges. All right, this one is for the element with class container. Class container. It's period. Set the display to flex. Display. And width is what I'm just guessing. But they would be well, it's up here someplace. You can see the if width is in fact a property, I'm quite positive it is. Let's just check it and see. Yes, it is. Width stuff. Okay. And the next one is for the element with the class container set flex direction to column reverse. I'm just guessing here. And set justify content to center. Okay. Oh, look, it shows you what it's supposed to look like. Well, that doesn't mean much to me. I'm just following the directions. So check, lo and behold. Okay, good. What's the last one? Now yours are going to be different, but same idea. Well, some of yours might be just using flex basis. Set the element with class first equals 30%. Really, there's something called all right, I'm just gonna guess here. Flex basis 30%. And the second one I'm gonna guess is flex basis. Oh, I know what this is. Okay, so what this is it's all coming back to me now. It's so these are images probably. These are probably images. and the images are huge. And so when they just load, just make them only 30% of the size, and that's probably 30% height and 30% width or something like that. That's probably what it is. And then the third one is flex space is 50%. And then of course there's flex. There's the other two properties have to do with when it shrinks and when it grows. Here, grow, basis, and shrink. So it talks about that here. All right. So anyway, let's see if this is right. You gotta do. Okay. Oh. Oh, I didn't read the directions, obviously. 30%, 20%, 50%. Oh, that's correct. That's correct. Oh, I didn't finish one. Oh, I didn't finish it. Did I not finish it? I must not have finished it. All right. Spacing out here. We're 50%. See, if I left it as nothing, then it does the default, and the default is auto. That's what it's auto. So let's see if this is right. Okay, there we go. All right, very good. What's next? Okay, so that was flex. Display equals flex. This is different. Display equals grid. So in here we're putting it right in the div tag. And so once you declare a div as a grid container, then inside items in this are going to be cells, grid cells. So here we have a display equals grid, and this is there to give to say, you know, if it's a grid, it's got rows and columns, and so it has to know how many. It has to know how many. Well, it just has to know how many columns, and then it'll just fill it up. However many elements you have, we'll just go on to the next row. No, it has to know how many. How many columns. So here this has 3 columns, and then it's just gonna fill these up 3 columns, and then go. So it looks like this. All right, so that's grid. And then there's different ways of, okay, there's columns, the property of the number of columns and how they are. And then there's gaps between the columns. And then there's you can define the height of the rows like that. Then of course you can justify inside, you can justify the items in a row. And so that's justify content, start and center. These are the values. This is the name of the property. And then align, as you this align is vertical align. Vertical align is align. And then justify is horizontal align. Yeah. All right. Go through all these, make sure you understand gaps, testing your understanding of that. Now you can actually, once you have your grid there, you can place grid items any place in the grid. And there's different ways that you specify the row column that the item takes up. So it's like overriding the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's overriding that, and it's saying directly where to put it. Controlling grid item placement. Okay. So this says add the following. It says it's going to take grid item A, and so it's going to be ID grid item A, and move it to the first column of the third row. So so the way this numbering system works is it's like this. So it's you're identifying the separation lines here. So grid row, the grid row lists the grid items starting and ending row numbers. So example one. Okay, so row. So this is going to be row. Grid item started row. It starts. The grid item starts at row 1 and ends at row 3. So it starts at row 1 and it ends at row 3. See, so we're talking about the first 2 rows because it starts at 1 and that's this top line, and the line 3 is this one here, which this line separates row 2 and row 3. And so so if we say we want grid row 1/3, we're saying we want the first 2 rows, and and this item spans actually the first 2 rows. So anyway, and then column, it's the same kind of deal. It's between column 1 and column 4. So column 1 is the very left one, column 4 is this. So this is all 3 of them. So if you can figure out formulas based on what these numbers are, it's like 3 minus 1 is going to be how many rows it is. 4 minus 1 is how many columns it is, and this first thing tells you where it starts and so on. And grid area gives the starting and ending row numbers. So I guess this would be the starting row 1, column 2, all the way up to row 3, column 4. And so that's like starting from row 1, starting this point right here, all the way to 3, 4 is this point right here. This is 3, 4. So it's these 4 squares. Yeah, that's what this. Okay, anyway. So and doing that, and with that, you can rearrange stuff. So A, B, C, D, F, G, like this is normally like this, but then by messing around with CSS and saying where all this different stuff is, saying put A someplace else, put B someplace else, put C someplace else, go through this exercise, and you can see how you end up with something that looks like this when really, if you were to look at this. So, anyway, and so I don't really know when you'd use it. What I think is that the tools that we're going to use later are all of the programming tools that manipulate CSS. You express what you want in a particular way, and the tool takes care of mapping them into these grids and so on. But it's always good to know what's really going on. This is like the HTML programmer who just sits down with a text editor and starts typing out HTML. I mean, back when I started writing HTML in 1994, that's what we did. There was no tool, anything, and we just learned HTML. Of course, there was a lot less HTML to learn back then. But and then when tables came along, we do that, and it's pretty difficult to visualize this stuff unless you've sort of learned it formally. But anyway, and most people don't develop entire web pages by typing in raw HTML. They've got some sort of tool that helps them do it. And so the average website developer does not have to know HTML directly, although you should. And same with the CSS coder. You don't. Anyway, so you can do the same thing with any of these pretty much, except for grids is pretty pretty wild. You can put things anywhere. So go through this exercise. So let's go on to the challenge here. Okay, so for the element with the class container, so here we are, you want CSS container, set the display and grid template columns properties to display the grid with 4 columns that are automatically sized to fit the grid. Okay, so this is the div of the grid. So I'm going to say, I'm going to start out by saying display colon grid. I'm going to say grid template columns is 4. Oh, there's all automatically sized to fit the grid with 4 columns. Oh, this is what they want. Auto, 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 auto. That's what they want. That's automatically sized and 4 columns. So that means that we're defining the widths of the columns here. These are arguments defining the width, and it can be a percentage. It can be a defined pixel size, or let's see if this is right. Very good. Okay, so what's the next one? For the element with class container, set the property to make the row gap 12 pixels and the column gap 5 pixels. I don't know. Gap colon 12 pixels space 5 pixels. Oops. Also set the property to horizontally align. Horizontally align, that's align. I gotta see what that was again. The up and down things. Ooh. Yeah. Align content. It's align content. And what was it again? Align content. Equal spacing between the items, but no space on either left or right of the item. Oh. This is not horizontal. Aligned content is vertically aligned, isn't it? So I don't want aligned content. I want justify. Correct? Justify. I'll go up and check that, but what we want is equal spacing between the items, but no space on either left or right of the grid container. Okay. So let's find justify. Here it is, justify content. Places equal spacing between grid items with no space on either side of the grid container. So justified content should be this, space between. Justified content, space between. Justify content, space between. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty nice. That's what it looks like. Okay, what's the third one? Okay, use the grid row or grid column property to make A span the first and second rows. Grid row or grid, okay, so it's a container. It's a container is the grid, and the grid column properties are auto, auto, auto. And so, and this is a child, item A is a child inside the div. item A, containers. So containers, this is, I know that's not anything. Okay, so we have to add something here to make the grid row or grid column property span the first, okay, span first and second rows. So grid row property, probably grid row is something. Grid row, display grid. Let's see, where is grid? Um, okay, the grid row property list is this makes the grid item start at row 1 and end at row 3, spanning the first 2 rows. Well, maybe this is what we want then. Span A, span the first and second rows. Okay. Okay. All right. What's the last one? Use grid template areas property. Grid template areas property to make the grid render as shown. They're forcing me to look at this. So I gotta render it like that, huh? Let's see. All right, I'm gonna copy this because I have a bad memory. New. I'm just gonna copy this like this. That's what it's supposed to look like. Whatever. And it's over here. So it's gonna look like that somehow. But anyway, let me go back to here and okay this. Okay, so we're gonna use what's this body? So we're going to use grid template areas. Well, let's go see what grid template areas is. Grid template areas. Okay, so it takes named. All right, so this, okay, I'm starting to get it now. Grid, this is so here we have the grid, and these refer to IDs, I guess, or sections. These are sections. No, IDs. No. I grid. This is the grid area ID. Okay. So we say that this is going to. Well, first of all, we define the grid areas. No, the grid areas. Let me see. I know what I mean, but I'm just not able to explain. All right, so let's go back down to here. We are talking about A, B, C, D, E. And we want to place it looking like this over here. Yeah, okay, so you got that? Okay, so let's go back to here. How is that expressed again? It's just expressed like Yes, just, oh, quote, quote, quote. Okay, really, okay. So, oops, grid areas. I tab, okay. Let's see. B, C, C, quote. Did I put a semicolon in between? No. Oh, no, it doesn't look like it. No, I don't. Semicolon at the end. Okay, so BCC, quote, ACC, oops, capital. And the next is D, E, E. Okay. B, C, C, A, C, C, D, E, E. Da, 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 da. I guess I'll put a semicolon there. And I named them wrong, didn't I? Huh? Oh, yeah, I named them wrong. I used capital letters instead of lowercase letters. B, C, is it the same? Yeah, it's the same. Don't want them to trick me. There's probably a faster way I could do this. A, D, E, E. All right, wonderful. Okay, what's next? Positioning elements. So it looks like you can just position, just position them wherever they are on the screen using the position property. So anything can have a position property, and there's different kinds of position. You say how you're going to define the position, whether it's just going to be a static or it's just whatever pixel address is, starting upper left-hand corner, probably, or relative to the element's default position. I see this is where you're moving it. Here you're, oh, this is the default position. Fixed is where you just say exactly where it is. Unknown. Relative to the viewport. And this is absolute is relative to the nearest position there, ancestor. You know, okay, so, all right, so there we are using it directly in a HTML element. Talks about, make sure you understand the different kinds of things, absolute, blah, blah, blah. Let's go right down to the index. Oh, okay. So this is the Z property. And by Z property, they mean, elements put in front of each other, because Z is, it's X, Y, and then Z. Yeah. Okay. So, and this is an order. Okay. So it's which ones are on top of each other. You got to make sure, so the default order, for example, is because you're saying um, this is the ancestor, and then this is um, ID elements that give additional CSS for the div, and in this case, it's the default order: first orange, then blue, then green. First orange, then blue goes on top of that, then green goes on top of that. But if you add the Z index, you can change the order. You can make it so so orange is in the back, and then blue is on. No, orange is in the front. So the higher the number, the closer it is to you. Yes. Yeah. So because Z is number 3, that's the closest to us, and green is only number 1, that's the farthest away from us, and blue's in the middle. All right, so make sure you understand that. Go down here, do that. But the thing is with these challenges, you just gotta read the directions carefully, and you should be able to figure it out. For the element with ID content, okay, this is an element here, this one, the middle one, set the position to relative. I don't know, is it like position relative, and top 3 pixels, left -6 pixels. Let's see. That's way at the top, I would guess. Relative. Oh, left and top. Look at that one. Just like that. So left colon top. Okay. Left colon -6. Let's see if this works. And top colon 3. I don't know. Is this going to work? Oh, look at that. All right. What's next? For the idea, set the position absolute. OLUTE. All right, top 6 pixels. This is the trick question. Left -7 pixels. No, it's not a trick question. All right, what's next? For the element ID content, set the position to absolute. Position absolute. Top, let me just do this. Top colon 8 pixels. Left colon -4 pixels. And so okay. Position relative. I don't know. What is it supposed to do? Okay, so for content, which is this one, this is inside. That is going to be this. Container here is okay. So this is going to make it relative to the parent, whatever, the ancestor. Okay, let's see if this is right. All right, it is. Very, very good. Oh, that looks nice. All right, next, special effects. Are there any challenges in this one? Yeah, there are. Okay, so special effects is all kinds of other stuff you can do. You can make a shadow. You can blur it, but make it different colors. You can shadows, bar shadows. You can do like that. Yeah, backgrounds like that. Box shadows. Oh, like this, I guess. Boxes are in. You can round the corners, make sure you understand all that. Border image. Oh, this is pretty this is pretty amazing. When I went through this, okay, so first of all, here's the image. Okay, if you want to look at that image, copy this and go over here, paste and go. Okay, so this is the image. This is what we're starting with. Okay, it's just like this. But then, and so this is the ID example, and inside example we got this border image. So when we render it, it looks like this. Looks like this, doesn't it? That's how do they get this border? Okay, let's make no border. Okay, render page. It's got no border. Well, it's got a border with these dimensions, but there's no border image. So if we add an image, it looks like this somehow. I think it just takes, well, yeah. All right, so now let's do some stuff here. Let's change the 30 to 15. Change this 30 to 15, and then render it. Whoa, looks completely different. Change the slice from 15 to 60. I don't know about this. 60. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, so go through that. Pretty amazing. There's also different stuff for different kinds of browsers, different brands of browsers. No, these are built-in things. WebKit and Opera browsers. Okay, anyway, so you can do gradients, clever, nice stuff. Make stuff that looks like that. Gradients, let's go see what the challenge is. For the P tag, set the text shadow to be blue. Let's start this. Here's the P tag. Set the text shadow to be blue with an offset X. Well, I'm going to just guess text shadow to be blue with an offset X of 5 pixels. I'm just gonna be lazy. Make it look nice, huh? What's the offset? 5 pixels. And offset, let's switch. Offset Y is 12 pixels. And is that right? What are we doing? P tag shadow offset. So let's go to shadow. Oh, there's offset X, offset Y. Offset X, offset Y. Text shadow. Okay. So can I do it this way? Oh, where's the blue come in? This must be, okay, text shadow. Okay, it's, this is the blur radius, right? This is X, this is Y, this is the blur radius, and this is color. All right. X 5 pixels, Y is 12 pixels. The blur thing is 0, and the color is blue. I want to see if that's the right answer. Nice. All right, what's next? For the div tag, set the corner of the border to have a radius of 10. Set each corner of the border to have a radius of 10. Each corner of the border. I could guess, but I'm going to just say corner of the border. Corner of the border, radius. Border radius. Is that right? Border radius. Yeah. Okay, border dash radius. Now you can do that one. Okay, border dash radius. Oops. Shoots. Anyway, I didn't mean to. Okay, border radius. Colon. I think I can just do 10 pixels and that'll do all 4 of them all the way around. Yeah, very good. Okay, what's next? For the div tag, set the bottom left corner of the border to have a radius of 7 and the top right corner of the border is okay. So can I do let's go back up there. I saw it. Border top left radius. Okay, border. All right. Border bottom left. Is that, do I use the word radius? Interesting. So anyway, we were doing, yes, it's radius. I had the word radius there too. And this just looks just like that. I guess I could do it this way too, but I'm going to do it this way. Left radius is bottom left 7. And the other one is border top right radius is 14. Check. Not bad. The last one is linear gradient background. Linear gradient gradient, G, I-E. Background, is it back or what? Where is the word background? Okay. Linear background, linear gradient. Okay, so I think it's something like this. I'm going to copy this, go down here, and go paste. And I'm going to put salmon and olive. Wow. Look at that. All right. What's next? Oh, I don't think, is there anything in animation? Let's see. No, nothing in animation. Oh, styling forms. Okay. Okay, forms. Yeah, forms are important to know how to style. So without CSS styling, a form might look like this. And then you put some CSS styling in there and it can look like this. So so go through this. This is here. These identify input elements of type where the type is equal to text or the type is equal to email. You're selecting. See, these are the types of text boxes, and this selector gives the text input and output a drop-down menu. This sizes up the and select elements. Okay, that's the drop-down menus. Give it this styling. So there's where border radius goes. And then the submit button, you want it to style to look like that. So you add these in here, and then you can see added to the CSS side, added it in there, add them in there, and you can see how the web page changes. So anyway, you can do that. Let's go through this. Oh, by the way, don't do this. Don't use the placeholder to put the name of the field, because once a person starts typing, or if there's a field, if there's something in there already, the name will, this word name will disappear. Once you start typing, once you put the cursor in there, the name, that name is going to disappear because now it's empty for you to type in your. So that's why you don't do that. So go through this. We're putting these in, put this inside of this is what you're supposed to do. You know, put these three things inside the CSS and then render the page. You should see that it's different. The stylizing or styling radio buttons and checkboxes. And see, you can make them look all different kinds of things. Shadows and all that. Okay, let's see what this is. For the label tag, set the display to inline block. Let's start this up. Display to inline block. I don't know, width, yes, I'm guessing, of 40 pixels. And align left. Is it text align? And add a margin of 7 pixels on the right. Okay, so I gotta know how to text. So I'm gonna put something here called text align left and margin right is 7 pixels. Is my guess. So, you know, I'm gonna change it. So I'm gonna do pop this out into another link. And what I gotta do is this is where I'm typing my, I'm taking the quiz on this side. Up here I want to go up and find labels. What can I do with label tags? So labels. We're down here. Labels is like this thing. That's too far down. Dump styling radio buttons. Um, and let's go higher. Here are labels. And we want to do some CSS on the labels. Here. What are we supposed to do over here? Text align right, text align left, margin right, 7 pixels, width 40, inline dash block. All right, I think I guessed right. Let's see. Check. Whoa. All right, what's next? For the button, add submit button, add a 1 pixel gray border. Okay, it's a button. I'm adding a gray border. Okay, so what can I fiddle? Button. Ooh, look at this. Okay, this is a nice one. Background color. There's some buttons. Okay. So I want a border colon gray. No, I gotta say, how do I say the width of the border? Oh, here we go. Oh, look at that. Border. Um, 1 pixel space solid space gray. All right, that's the border. And then I need some, the width of it is width is 180 pixels. And the padding is 15 pixels. And the margin on the top, dash top, is 6 pixels. Well, all right, I think this might be right. Oh, it's very good. The third one, let's do the third one. For text input, text type input, add a 300. Well, I want it to be 300 pixels in width, and I want the padding to be 15 pixels, and I want the margin at the top to be 6 pixels. Man. All right, what's the last one? For all labels and adjacent radio buttons, use the pointer cursor. All right, is that how you do it? All right. Okay, I gotta find pointer cursor. Okay, use a poll curl. I got it. Okay. So let's find some radio buttons. Right. Oh, styling radio buttons. Cursor, pointer. Okay, here we go. We need to put that in there. Here. And what else do we got to do? Margin of 24. I guess I can do this one. Margin right, 24 pixels. And font size, 17 point. Font size here. Here we go. So, font size, okay. Point your cursor. Okay. It looks like that worked. All right. How are we doing here? Are we done with this section? So if we go back to here, 5.6. Okay, that's it. It looks like we have finished the challenge activities in chapter 5, and there'll be another video doing the lab. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching.